Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Well, the People's Democratic Party has expelled the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose, and the party's former National Secretary, Samuel Anyanwu. Others are Umar Bature, Adeyemi Ajibade, Mohammed Abdurrahman, Senator Mao Ohabua, Austin Wachuku, George Turner, and Chief Dan Orbing. Their expulsions were announced on Saturday at the party's national convention in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Chief Olabode George, former National Vice Chairman South, moved the motion for their expulsion on the convention floor. The motion was immediately seconded by Honorable Samila Buga, Chairman of PDP, the Bauchi State, giving it overwhelming backing. The disciplinary action adds to the series of shakeups within the party as delegates push to restore unity and enforce strict adherence to party rules ahead of future elections.
Well, meanwhile, the Minister of the FCT, Wike, has dismissed his expulsion from the PDP as a non-issue and derided the party's national convention, describing it as a mere disco party. Speaking through his senior special assistant on public communications and social media, Larry Olayinka, Wike said that attendees at the convention arrived in Ibadan to revel, socialize, and indulge themselves, beginning their December festivities in November. He said the event lacks seriousness, characterizing it as a mere disco party attended by individuals recovering from alcohol, adding that the intoxicated mood of the participants explains the nature of the statement emerging from the convention.
For more on this development and a recap of everything that transpired yesterday at that PDP convention, we've now been joined by our Rice correspondent, Mary Chinda. Good morning, Mary. How are you over there?
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
I'm doing well, exhausted, but I'm well.
I can imagine. It was a long day. It was a long day yesterday. But how did it all pan out? The convention held, even though we didn't see INEC monitoring. And then the big bang, 11 officers or 11 members of the PDP have been expelled after a motion moved by Chief Olabode George. What actually happened? What led to that important decision? And how do you think that the atmosphere is over there, given that this is a big one that very few people were expecting?
Well, it was a bang for everybody, a lot of people, of course, except the leadership of the party. The former chairman of the party, Umar Damagum, the governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, and of course, Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed. They were all in on it, including the governor of Zamfara State. But what we saw yesterday, the expulsion of the FCT minister, is also pointed to the seeming lack of unity within the four governors that even were there yesterday, because we all watched with, shock as the governor of Adamawa State, Amadou Fintiri, who was the chair of that convention committee, walked up stage and announced that, INEC was not at the convention venue to monitor the process and wonder if that convention should go on. And then he left that decision with the delegates, as though to say, at this point, I do not think that this convention should go on as an elective convention. I guess those were moments when, between or amongst them, the governors, they were beginning to have some disunity, some rancor, and then after he said that, he went back to the VIP stand. And then moments later, PDP chieftain, Chief Olabode George, came up stage and moved the motion for the expulsion of the FCT minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, the national secretary of the party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, Chief Danobi, and others, the national legal advisor, George Turner, and others. Mostly, I mean, all of those in the Wike camp. And next thing, we notice that the chairman of the National Convention Organizing Committee had taken a walk from the convention, dissociating himself with the convention. And minutes later, we find the tweet where the chairman who put together that convention is saying, I will not associate myself with the expulsion of so and so and so. So it gets to tell about what is really left of the PDP. From several governors to, governors decamping, and then 4 governors were physically present. The governor of Osun State was conspicuously absent there. He only sent his deputy to represent him. So we had 4 governors, and even amongst those 4 governors, they were divided. Governor Seyi Makinde being the host governor stayed all through. Governor Bala Mohammed stayed all through, and of course the governor of Zamfara State. Even when we interviewed him afterwards about what he thought about the outcome of the convention, the expulsion and everything, he said, "Oh, it was good." But then, out of the 4 governors, only 3 were in on it. The other one had taken a walk, leaving, dumping the convention, abandoning his convention because he did not agree with the decision of the other governors, the chair of the party, as at that time, Umar Damagum, even though at the time of announcing this, the Umar Damagum-led NWC had been dissolved. But he did not agree with the expulsion. And I hear that the FCT minister's aide has been, has dismissed it, saying that was a charade or a party or something. But the mood of most of the attendants yesterday, the delegates rather, at the point where INEC, they did not find INEC. Yeah. Was that of what exactly are we doing here? But of course, some of the delegates carried on with voting. I was almost made to believe that INEC was there. But myself and other journalists, we kept insisting, could he show us, could he show us, could he take us to INEC, could we just see proof that INEC was here? And the party at those moments could not, point a finger to say, oh, this is INEC, they've come, they've, and all of that. So it was just what it was.
Thank you very much, Mary. Now, let's ask some questions. Of course, the minister's aide has responded saying that making light of the convention yesterday. So in your opinion, how important is this convention, particularly as half of the PDP governors that we currently have were present at the convention? And how significant is the Minister Nyesom Wike's expulsion from the PDP, particularly considering the G5 governors we had in last year's election, and the fact that Governor Seyi Makinde was a part of that? How significant is this split, and how significant is it that Nyesom Wike has been reportedly expelled from the PDP?
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly want to share my opinion, but I'll share the pulse of political observers who spoke to us, at the convention and even over the phone, trying to analyze this yesterday. Yes, we know that in 2023 or before 2023, we had Governor Wike leading the G5 governors, where we had Governor Okezie Ikpeazu and Governor Seyi Makinde, Samuel Otom, and, one other governor from Enugu State, Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. However, we see this expulsion is coming at a time when political observers are keenly expectant that the PDP maybe has a chance to put its house in order, come to the negotiation table with all aggrieved parties and see how they can agree on certain things just ahead of 2026. Because 2026 is the campaign year ahead of the 2027 big presidential election year. So this is coming at a time where people, keen observers are expecting that there should be conversation. Oh yes, you've held a convention that, of course, is still in court, and there are going to be litigations even after this. There are court judgments saying don't hold the election, don't hold the convention rather. But of course, there's another court, interim court order saying, okay, you can go ahead until December when we'll give a judgment. So this is quite a sensitive time for the PDP. And I tell you what, the chairman who emerged, the SAN Tanimu Turaki, in his speech yesterday had mentioned that he was willing to speak with the aggrieved parties. And then that left people wondering, which of the aggrieved parties are you speaking about? The aggrieved parties that have been expelled from the party, or what other factions are you willing, to speak to? But for him, this is a big tax. According to all that he said in his opening speech, it was a big tax, and he's saying that the new NWC would be equal to the tax. I tell you what, again, and this was yesterday, most of the positions in the NWC were already zoned, right? And those zones had endorsed members, certain members. In fact, most of the members of that NWC. That entire election yesterday was just for two offices. The office of the national chairman, which of course is a big deal for the opposition party at this time, and the office of the deputy national organizing secretary.
All right.
That was what all of that convention was about. Hours of voting and all, and it was just for those two offices.
All right, Mary Chinda, thank you for your coverage. I mean, I watched the convention a little bit, and it appeared to be a voice vote. There was people a resounding yes for Wike and the others, their expulsion. And like Adesua has mentioned, Wike has responded through his spokesperson. He said that the convention lacks seriousness. He also mentioned that, the party, describing it as a disco party attended by, and I quote, people recovering from alcohol. Now, we know that Wike's expulsion is particularly significant, given his current position as FCT minister in President Tinubu's APC government. And I haven't heard what you said about the evidence that the party presented to support his expulsion, particularly. I know that Chief Bode George described Wike's conduct at in the PDP as despicable, quoting Section 40 of the Constitution. That's one question. The other is, do you know the story about Fayose's expulsion? Do you know the story behind it? I know he's been quite controversial, but a very prominent member of the PDP for years. What specifically led to this action against Fayose as well?
I mean, it's not unconnected to the fact that Fayose is in the Wike camp. And he's been quite vocal about his stance on the PDP, and the fact that he just did not agree with, the Damagum-led NWC and the convention. I mean, it's the same thing with that of the national secretary of the party, who 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the convention was suspended, and then he and his faction too suspended the chairman of the party at that time, Umar Damagum, the national publicity secretary. It's all a game. It's all, it's all the infighting. The crisis is just deepening, within the party. For everyone who was expelled, who was in the Wike camp, it was basically because of their stance, the internal, or better still, what the party would describe as anti-party activities that is not unconnected to the Wike factor.
All right, Mary Chinda, thank you for your reporting. Thank you very much indeed. We'll follow up on the story as usual. Thank you indeed.